Ahí toca jugar.
Están en lo oscuro. ¿Quién está ahí?
Prende la linterna, Chato.
No pagaron la luz.
Si no pagamos la luz, no la cortan.
Hola. Hola. Hola, buenas noches. ¿Cómo están?
Bien.
¿Sí? ¿No tienen frío? ¿Todavía no?
No.
¿Poquito?
Yo tengo calorcito.
¿Cuánto tiempo durmieron en la calle en El Paso?
No, 21 días, porque los otros no vinimos de una vez. 12 años.
Pero pues aquí es el frío, no es igual, ¿o sí?
Allá hace calor más que todo.
Mira, yo le voy a echar la clave, dísele, si es del 10 para abajo, vaya.
¿Les da miedo que sea tan frío y que no tengan...?
A mí me tiene asustado eso de que se va a caer el hielo.
¿Y así?
Sí, así lo colocamos los bolsos y nos botamos.
¿Cuál bolso?
Más ropa que tenemos.
So guys, you hate to see it, man. You knew it was going to happen. I haven't been reporting all the incidents, but there's been a lot of incidents going on with the migrants as far as, getting shot. And the newest problem that we have, which everybody knew was coming, the cold. When it was 60 degrees outside, like in the early part of the fall, like late part of the summer, they were complaining that it was too cold at night, that, they couldn't sleep because their feet were so cold. This is when it was 60. So the temperature dropped down to about 30. And for all, the migrants that were kind of shell-shocked by the drop to 30 and the snow that we had over Halloween, it's going to be about 40 degrees colder than that in a couple months. I mean, in January, it can dip below zero and stay that way for a significant amount of time. And that's a temperature where if your skin is exposed for even a few minutes, frostbite starts to set in. People die, like homeless guys die every single year here in Chicago, being out in the cold when the temperature gets that low. It's not a temperature where you can make it outside, period. Like, it doesn't matter how many sleeping bags you got, how tightly you're bundled up, how tightly sealed your tent is. When it's, negative 10, negative 15, and the wind chill is like minus 40, minus 50, you got to be in an indoor heated space, like period, point blank. So the migrants are continuing to arrive every day. We've got, I think, now about 30,000, and they're being sent up, as you guys know. I don't know what type of knowledge, they have in some of these countries where they're coming from about the weather here, because as far as like clothing and supplies, most of them came here totally unprepared. They were out there in sandals, like t-shirts and stuff. I mean, they did not have the type of gear that you would need to even make it in temperatures like in the 30s. And like I said, in a few months, 30s is going to seem like summer. Like that's warm for winter here. When that polar vortex comes in and the winds shift to come down from the north from Canada. In Chicago, see, this isn't like I've stayed for a short time out in California, out in San Bernardino, and for a short time in Miami. The difference between here and those places, okay, like the temperature there, for the seasons is pretty much constant. You don't have to watch the weather every day to see what the weather is going to be, because, okay, in Miami during the summer, it's going to be in the 90s every day. Southern California, same thing. It's going to be hot every day. That rain is rare. It's like basically the same thing. In Chicago, the change in weather, because of our location right along the Great Lakes, and, when the winds shift either from the north or from the south, the change can be so dramatic and so drastic. I'll tell you guys a real story. This was about, I can't remember, this was maybe like 15 years ago. I was hooping at this basketball court. Temperature was about 80 degrees. Okay, this was, I think it was like in April. It was like April or May. It was about 80 degrees outside. We're out there running fives, everybody's wearing t-shirts, shorts, everybody's sweating. We were all out there because it was, one of the warm days as the weather was coming and changing. All of a sudden, okay, the game was still going on. Like all of a sudden, this wind came in and we just felt it, and people started running off the court. Like literally, like the game just ended abruptly. People started running off the court. It was like this freezing air just all of a sudden came in and hit all of us. And I mean, it was like instantaneous. Got in the car. I lived about 10 minutes away from the court. Okay, now, mind you, it had just been 80, like high 70s, low 80s, somewhere around there. By the time I got home, this is like 10 minutes later, it was snowing outside. The temperature had dropped 50 degrees in a matter of like 15 minutes. You know, I mean, you can get 30, 40 degree drops real fast, and it starts snowing. Okay, this isn't like some of these countries, you know, that border the ocean where, you know, it kind of moderates it. They need to be informed of exactly what they're getting themselves into before they come up here. You know, I have family in other countries. I'm second generation here in the United States. And a lot of times people in other countries do not have a realistic picture of what America is like. You know, they see it as like this paradise place where everybody's, you know, eating good and, you know, there's gold in the streets and like everybody's rich and, you know, there's just so much money to be made and everything's great. That ain't what America is. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people that are like really, you know, messed up down and out over here too. There's situations that are really bad over here. And the weather is in the northern part of the United States, especially in the Great Lakes region, is a big problem. Like people leave here when they retire to go down to Florida, go down to California because they can't take it. You know, in their old age, they just can't take it. And a lot of these mothers are bringing small babies up. Now, with the border states and the governor of Texas that's sending them up here, I sympathize with them. They've been dealing with this problem on a 10 times bigger scale than we have for a long time. So I understand what they're doing. But to send them here, sending them out to liberal cities, you know, that have offered to, you know, take these people in and said that they're sanctuary cities, but in warm areas, like sending them here, you're sending some of these people to their death. You know, not to mention the fact that you've got the killers and the drillers in Chicago to worry about. Like Chicago's on the whole the most violent city in the United States, and these migrants. I mean, I don't know what's going on in their countries, but I mean, Chirac is still what it is. You know what I'm saying? And the migrants have been getting shot. They've been getting caught in crossfire. All type of issues with that. So the mayor has a real challenge. I mean, for Brandon Johnson, this is the first real test of his career, how to deal with these migrants. They were debating on whether or not to open up a museum. I think they need to possibly open up, you know, one of the stadiums, possibly the United Center, as like temporary shelters until they can, you know, formulate a plan. And they need a plan. I mean, they need a plan. If you're going to say you're a sanctuary city and we're willing to take these people, then you need a plan for when it actually happens. You know what I'm saying? And I know that Brendan Johnson isn't the one that, you know, made that declaration and characterized Chicago that way. He's coming in the middle of this. But, there has to be some better plan to deal with it than this, because winter is going to kill these people. You know, the babies were out there. They couldn't tolerate the cold. The moms had to take them inside the police station. Now they're staying up all night. I mean, it's just a disaster, man. And the churches are pulling up. Shout out to them with jackets, blankets. Anybody that has anything to donate, give it to the migrants. They're camped out in front of the police stations. Some older people I've heard have been taking the migrants into their home. Shout out to them. You know, that's a real act of charity, man. But there has to be some plan by the city government to deal with this. I mean, they got to tackle this problem because it's not stopping. Like they're continuing to come every day. Anthony Beale, the alderman on the South Side, and some of the Democratic politicians down there, when they were talking about this, they sounded like they were Republicans at a Republican presidential debate, talking about Joe Biden needs to close the border and all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa! I thought that was racist. You know what I'm saying? I thought that, they just hated Latinos and that's why they want to close the border. See, it never had anything to do with that. It's not about racism. It's about logistics. Like, cities can't deal with it. And I'm not saying, look, my own family came here the same way. I mean, they didn't sneak across by land. They came on a boat. But at that time, there was a lot of the same pushback against, immigrants from that part of the world. And the rhetoric actually was a lot worse than it is against now. I mean, they were, calling Southern European immigrants dirty criminals. And I mean, we were dirty criminals, but, we eventually assimilated these people. I mean, they're coming up here. They're doing what any of us would do. You hear that there's more money to make in another place. we're going to go for it. You know, saying give our families a better life. I heard one woman, she was talking about like she only made like something like $1 a week down in her country, and she's coming up here making $60 a day just selling like tamales on the street. So, I mean, they're doing what any of us would do. So you can relate to it that way. I'm not one of these people that supports the wall and supports closing the border and stuff, but I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of like the Democratic Party right now in Chicago, talking about Joe Biden needs to close the border. First of all, that's a totally like unrealistic plan to just wait on that to happen to solve this problem, because I mean, that's like, we need to do something here. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. This is quickly turning into the problem we all knew it was going to turn into when winter hits. And winter's coming fast. This is nothing so far, man. 30s, 40s, like, they're freezing out there. This is nothing. It's going to be 30, 40 degrees colder than this. And those little babies are going to be, you know, getting frostbite. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. Very controversial issue. This is the biggest issue the city's facing right now. I would say even more pressing than the violence right now. Because, like I said, more come every day. And the population of the city is going to turn. And a lot of these people don't speak English, which is, you know, another issue that's because that makes it more difficult for them to find work here. Yeah, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, man. Your boy, Chicago News. I'm out.